Okay, I apologize for the quality of this audio, but I'm going to attach a microphone and see if it gets a little bit better. My expertise is research, not recording and editing videos. So what you're looking at here is an FBI declassified document. The date the document was actually written or sent was July 7th, 1989. I was trying to find out when exactly it was declassified. I think it was either 2007 or 2010, but I'm not sure. This is a letter that was sent from the FBI to Senator Edward Kennedy. Ted Kennedy, as most people know him as. And it says, per your oral request as of June 5th, 1989, requesting a full report on the Japanese, Singapore, New Zealand, Kentucky connection, what follows is a complete and thorough investigation of any and all available files of the Bureau as well. Now, this actual report was about 25 pages long. I'm going to post a link for those of you who want to read the whole thing, and I encourage you to do so. I'm including this so that you understand sort of the background to the best that's available about the report. And how it ties into the video that I posted of the police officer confronting the the CIA director at that time. It goes on to say, if this top secret report were to be leaked in any portion, Senator, you understand that our agents, Planet in and above agencies, would be exposed, and over 15 years of work would be in total disarray. I read that portion of the report because it says a lot about their explanation for why this was kept secret for so long. So let's move forward to what else this report says. This comes from page 3 of the same report. That was just the opening page that I just read. And as you go on through this report, this page, it gets into the details of the drug running that was basically done by the CIA, which is sort of the espionage wing of the U.S. government, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it talks about the fact that the CIA has actually set up airlines, not airplanes, but airlines that they are using for their drug smuggling operations. It tells you here that the plan presented called for a second airline to be set up by the CIA. So the first one was the Flying Tigers. They're now creating a second airline for their drug operation, which is the Overseas National Airline. It says this airline suddenly, without yet having any aircrafts, received contracts for all civilian carrier and military cargo into the Pacific Rim and Southeast Asia. The important thing, which I've highlighted in yellow here for you to see, is that it says the master plan called for the CIA to enter the drug smuggling business in a total and complete fashion. I can't add anything to that. Pretty shocking to me. I'll let you make up your own decision. Okay, this page is from page 17 and 18 of the same report. And I'm going to just read the yellow highlighted section here. It says, our documents show that as director of the CIA, William J. Casey, without approval of Helms, who was the assistant or deputy director of the CIA, I believe at that time, went into business with drug smugglers, allowing tons of narcotics to enter into the country as necessary cost of a higher geopolitical Nicaraguan problem. Congress was also about to cut off the money. Now, one thing I always like to point out is that, as far as I know, there's not a single person in the CIA who was elected by anyone. So everything that they're doing should be something that's approved of and that the elected officials are aware of. That's what a representative government is supposed to do. That's how it's supposed to function. In this case, basically, you've got someone who's not elected. Most people probably don't even know who he is, who has decided that it's perfectly okay to flood this country with drugs because there's some problem in another country that they need to take care of. A country's responsibility, their first responsibility, is always to the people of their country. So you could almost say that the CIA operated as enemy combatants to this country. Because they were basically sacrificing American lives for something that they wanted to do in another country. I have never read anything that suggests to me that anything that happened in Nicaragua was a national security threat to the United States. But if someone has that information, send it to me. The way I see it, this country has paid a very, very high price historically and today for drug addiction. Drug addiction doesn't just destroy the individual who takes them, it destroys their children, it destroys their families, it destroys lives in such a horrible, painful way. And this is our government that's responsible for this. I don't find any justification for this. And so, I want people to have the information that they need to make up their own mind. Maybe you think so. Maybe you want to do some more research on what they were doing. Good luck finding it. But either way, I have a general objection to unelected government bureaucrats doing what they want to do around the world with a negative impact to the people of this country. Somehow that seems like it should be unacceptable to me. I think you probably agree. So there we go. I skipped through a lot of what's in this report to get to page 16 because these are the parts of the report that deal with the actual drug smuggling by the CIA. For those of you who choose to read it, if you feel like you're ready, there are some very shocking things in this report that not only do they conflict with public information that's put out over the years, but just from a moral perspective, I find just absolutely shocking and appalling. But I want to stick to what the issue is for this video. On page 16 of the report, it says objectives. Our documents show further that Casey is William J. Casey. He was the CIA director at that time, during the time that's covered in this report, which is actually about 20-30 years. Further, that Casey ordered the subordination of drug enforcement to the goal of overthrowing Nicaragua's Sandinista government. What he's basically saying is that law enforcement agencies that were in the business of enforcing our country's drug laws were told that they were subordinate to this drug running operation, meaning that they needed to stand down. They needed to follow orders from them. So it goes on to say distribution points for Latin American narcotics. Then he interfered with all attempts. This is William J. Casey, the CIA director. He interfered with all attempts by local police and with our own FBI agents to eradicate the drug problem. So not only were they responsible for creating drug dealing cartels in the country, they now were telling police and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement that they needed to stand down and basically allow them to do drug dealing and drug smuggling. And keep in mind, this is an admission. This is the FBI reporting this information back to a U.S. senator about what was going on in the U.S. in terms of drug smuggling by our own government. Okay, that's basically all I have on this, but there's some other things in this report for those of you who think you would like to read it. I think it's on page 3, it talks about people who were basically killed or assassinated in service of, basically they were in the way of this drug smuggling operation. And I'm going to play a little bit of, sort of self Q&A here. CIA, have you ever stopped running drugs? Are you doing other illegal things that, in the country that are negatively impacting this country for any reason at all around the world? I'm looking for that information now and I'm not finding it. If anything, I find that it seems to have grown over time just based on the anecdotal evidence that I've seen. But if I find something else, I will post it and I will try to not get shadow banned. All right, thanks for looking. Thanks for watching. Share, comment, whatever you think. Thanks, bye.